Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in historic Jacksonville on Sandusky Street, just about a block off of State Street, at the latest home to be restored in old Jacksonville. And with one of the best friends of historic Jacksonville, and I say that, Michael Fuhr, because you've now restored dozens of these old, wonderful homes in Jacksonville. This is just the latest one, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in fact, you just finished it, and you have a buyer. So somebody's moving into this house in just a week or two,
Yep,
I guess.
about 4 days.
That's terrific.
There'll be a new family in here.
This home was built in the 1890s, you tell me. It would have been probably the oldest house on this side of Sandusky Street.
Yes.
And as we look at it, it's, how would you describe it? Victorian Queen Anne, sort of?
Exactly. I would say it's Victorian with Queen Anne features as well. Very unique architectural details to this house. So somebody who was pretty wealthy at the time would have been the one who built this house.
Yeah. When you look at the artistic features of it, and I'm talking about the curved windows and the fan, the fanning out of the windows up there and all of the decoration, what kind of condition was it in?
Pretty rough. It hadn't been, the house hadn't had really any updates in probably 30 years or so. We found there was probably about 3 coats of paint on the house, which would translate to about 1 per owner. And so even at that, there was still a lot of scraping, a lot of prep work. The house was very overgrown with trees and shrubs and vines. All that had to be taken back. And we got everything scraped and prepped for paint. And one of the biggest challenges we had with paints was my wife picked out all the paint colors and palettes for the house, but we had tried to use several palettes that we had used in the past, and due to the lighting or what was around the house, they just didn't look right. The creams were too yellow, the grays looked green, and so we went through about 20 different samples of paint to get to this final product here. So
I mean, you're very conscientious that way.
Yes.
Because for you, if it doesn't look right, you might as well not do it.
Right. We're not going to settle.
Yeah.
So we're not going to settle, that's for sure.
You say this was overgrown. Let's look back toward the garage, which was a carriage house at one time, I guess.
Correct.
What was that like?
Again, same as the house. There's a kind of a lean-to or a covered area on the side of the garage with some lattice work on it. You couldn't even see any of that when we bought the house. The entire garage was covered in vines. It took us 2 days to pull all the vines off the house. I had a tree company here for 2 solid days with a full crew, just getting rid of all the overgrowth on everything. Yeah. And so really the garage was in very good shape, just like the house. So structurally, we cleaned it up, painted it, put modern garage doors on it with openers so that they can use it just like a normal garage, and the exterior lighting, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does look fantastic, and the house does too. And fortunately for you, the house had good bones. It was in good, sturdy condition.
Yes, it's solid.
Yeah. Well, can we go in?
Absolutely.
All right. Smells new. Must be the paint, huh?
Everything's new. A lot of varnish and paint.
Oh, wow. So you really get the feeling when you see those round windows from the outside, now you get the feeling for what it does for the room in here.
Right. It really brightens the room. It lets a lot of light in. You don't have the dark corners. And plus the French doors, which open out on the front porch, is a great feature, I think, that they'll enjoy, people will enjoy on a nice day.
Yeah, so, to be able to go right out there. Maybe they get themselves some screens for that, and they could just keep it open and let the air go through.
You could, for sure.
These, I noticed these look old. They look like antiques.
They are not real old. I would consider them in the antique category, but they're not 70 or 80 years old. They're a more modern fixture. That's more of a reproduction, but they do have some age.
And you've got them throughout, though, that you carry that throughout, don't you?
Yes.
Now look at how the floor here changes in the direction of the wood.
Correct. At one point in time, this was 2 rooms. And I believe the second owner, from what I heard, had this wall removed, blocked up a doorway that was in there that came off the entryway, and must have patched this flooring. But one interesting thing about this flooring is every strip of wood is one continuous piece. There's no joints in it. So in some areas, you've got 15-foot long pieces of hardwood flooring that somebody put down. You can't find that today.
No. This guy, whoever took this wall out, did you a favor, didn't he?
He sure did.
Because you wouldn't have wanted.
I would have wanted this to be
large
one
space,
big room.
wouldn't you?
To work with today's lifestyle, people don't want small rooms. And then this fireplace was completely original. We didn't have to do anything to this except wipe it down. And at one point in time, of course, there was an overmantel on here with a mirror in it. And that was sold at a garage sale that somebody at this house had. I believe when the second owner sold it to a lady. And the third owner, who I bought the house from, she was approached by this lady years later. And the lady said, you know, I have the overmantel that was in that house.
Yeah.
Would you like to buy that back?
Oh, wow.
And she did. And so when I purchased the home, it was sitting in the dining room. And fortunately, we were able to repurpose that, and I used it as part of the range hood when I designed the kitchen. So,
Well, let's take a look.
Okay.
Is it there now?
it is there.
Well, you got so lucky, didn't you? You got so lucky to
This
find
turned
this
out
again.
really well. I didn't
Oh,
have to do
man.
anything to that. We
It's
did put a new
beautiful.
mirror in it because the old mirror was in such bad shape. Sometimes I like that aged look to them, but it was in such bad shape that we replaced it.
Yeah.
But we incorporated into this, put you know, the range hood ventilator in underneath of it. And the only thing we're missing, unfortunately, due to some shipping issues, is we have a 48-inch stainless steel professional range that's going to go in this
Yeah.
empty space here, which just hasn't made it in.
Yeah, yeah. What was here before you decided to make this your range area?
This was actually the exterior wall of the house. There is an enclosed mudroom on the other side of this room, but this was an exterior wall. We actually had to open this wall up and put a beam in order to recess all of this cabinetry, which I built, and in order to have enough width in the entire kitchen to make everything work. If we would have just put all this against the wall, we wouldn't have enough space in the kitchen to make everything we want to put in here.
Got you. So you bought some space.
Right, so we bought
and
some
then you
space.
say you built the cabinetry.
Yes. This cabinetry, all these doors and the trim that you see around them, I had the fortune to be able to remove some of these items out of a building in Springfield a few years back, and this was the first opportunity I've had to use them. And then the base cabinets we found at an antique store, and these were clothing cabinets that came out of a clothing store years ago. And so these slide open, and not only do they slide open, but then they tilt down.
They tip.
But they'll be terrific for you know, pots and pans
Yeah.
and large items and things
Yeah.
like that. So
And then you find a couple slabs of marble and you're good to go, right?
we had the marble cut for that, as well as the island, which we fabricated the island. Of course, the back side is the functional spot. We've got the drawer microwave, which I use pretty much exclusively now, the dishwasher,
Oh, wow.
farm-style sink. And then on the front side of the island, we found an antique buffet, which we used
Isn't that remarkable?
for the visual side. And it wasn't quite long enough, so we had to take it apart and lengthen it about 10 inches in order to make it work.
So
for the
you have
space.
butted this piece of furniture up to this side, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Isn't that's smart?
And just
That
tried to
was
make it
really
look
smart.
seamless and like it was always
Yeah.
all one piece.
Wow. And you've got the old chandeliers, you carry those right
carried
in
those
here
in
into the
here.
kitchen. Plus, to make it more modern, you've got your built-in
Recessed lights.
recessed lights in the ceiling, isn't that?
I really try to take I spent hours just sitting in this kitchen planning it out. We really try to incorporate everything together and make everything work, make sure the lighting is in the right place. This cabinet back here was a combination of 3 cabinets that my wife and I found when we were returning from Washington, D.C.
It's huge.
last summer.
It's just huge.
The base was completely separate.
That's this here. This
That
is
was completely separate. It was painted
Okay.
black. And then the bookcases on top were 2 separate bookcases that we had to make them deeper to accommodate plates and so forth. We had to join them together, and then the base we had to lengthen 3.5 inches on either side in order to allow enough room for the top to sit on
Wow.
it. And painted it all and made the doors and put those on and made it look like one piece.
Perfect fit. And you probably had to cut this out of here for this refrigerator.
We had originally gutted this entire area, and so when we framed it with these refrigerators in mind. And just to the inch, had just enough space to make everything work. This house, of all the houses we've done, this house probably presented the most challenges to overcome, just because of issues like this and the layout and the complexity of all the things we did here. So.
Now over there you've got a stairway to the basement, right?
Correct. The door next to the refrigerators leads to the basement.
All right. And the other one?
The other one is to the back stairway that
the
goes
back
upstairs.
stairway. So whoever lived here first would have probably had help, and they lived upstairs, and they could get up and down from the kitchen.
There was a room upstairs, which actually, there were 2 rooms upstairs, which are now bedrooms, but one of them had a sink in it and so forth, and that's where the help would have stayed, and then they came right down the back stairway right to the kitchen.
Well, let's proceed this way, okay? This would have always been the dining room.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
But interestingly, this was the only way to get into the kitchen was from this room. There was no, that wall was what kept you from going from
There were
the
bookcases
living
there,
room.
and it was blocked off.
Okay.
So you couldn't go through that way.
This would have been the way into
This
the
was
kitchen.
the way in and out of the kitchen.
But now you got flow.
Right.
Yeah. I love the way they textured the ceiling when they built the house, and you didn't have to do a thing to this, did you?
This ceiling and the entryway ceiling were textured just like this. And I'm normally not a big fan of textured ceilings, but these were interesting and I liked them. So we wanted to do everything we could to keep them. And fortunately, we were able to do all of our wiring and everything mechanical that we needed to without disturbing these ceilings at all. So the crown molding was in here. We did have to tear apart the ceiling in the large room next door to us here, and it also had crown molding. However, when we drywalled that ceiling, we used 1/2-inch drywall, which blended in to the crown, and we plastered that in to form basically a coved ceiling.
Yeah.
And
So
it
you
turned
got
out really well.
You got a really nice,
Really nice gentle
and
curve.
it's nice in there too because those round windows, it kind of rounds the whole room out. Yeah. Now there. Used to have, they always had sliding doors. They always had these pocket doors.
Correct.
Yeah. And they did here too, didn't they?
Yes, in fact, this one for this opening was still in this wall. And we had to remove it in order to run mechanicals. And so one of the things in our whole scheme of trying to repurpose and reuse things is, for the people who are buying this house from me, I'm gonna take that pocket door, which is in perfect condition, and I'm gonna make a base for it, and they're going to use that as their dining room table in here, which will easily sit 10 people.
Is that right? It's that big?
It's that big, and it'll fill the space perfectly, and it'll be such a great conversation piece.
Yeah.
And we'll just put glass on top of it, and they'll put chairs around it, and it'll
Terrific.
it'll
I'd
work
like
out
to see
perfect.
that when you're finished with it. I'd like to see what you...
I'll have to send you a picture of it.
I want to see it. You have in your mind what the base wants to look like?
I want it to be something a little more industrial. You know, something with some interest to it, and I have found a piece that I had that I like, and basically what it was, I used to own a building that was a psychiatric hospital here in town, and we found one of the old stretchers, the old wooden stretchers in the basement of that building, and so the stretcher is just proportionally the right size and height to be able to set that pocket door on, and I think that's what I'm going to do, is turn that into
Yeah,
a
I
base
do want to
for
see a
it.
picture of when
So.
you get it. Now, that wasn't always a bathroom, I take it.
Well,
Or
there was a bathroom in there, but it was a completely different configuration. It had a shower in there, which we did not need, and we also needed space to recess the refrigerators in the kitchen. So we basically gutted the entire space, reframed everything, and turned it into just a powder room.
Okay, all right, so now it's a half bath.
Yes.
It was a full bath, you needed the space for the fridge, so you took some of that space and made it a half bath. And there's no bedroom down here anyway, right?
Right, so there was really no need
Yeah.
to have a full bathroom on the first floor.
Okay, so let's go back to where we started here, into the front hall. And I admire this woodwork here. And most people that buy houses like this have to take a lot of paint off this
Right.
woodwork. You didn't have to do that, did you?
We didn't have to touch the staircase. It was perfectly preserved. There was carpet on the stairs, which preserved the steps and the treads. And it is solid. There was not a mark of anything on it. It looks like it was built yesterday. It really does, and it feels like it was. And so that was just a huge pot of gold, basically, that we did not have to miss. A lot of time, and really added a lot of visual appeal to the entryway.
Yeah, it sure does.
So
let's go up.
Okay.
After you, sir.
Thank you.
Wow, again, those round windows just make it a delightful, round, soft space, don't they?
It'll be a very bright master bedroom, that's
Yes,
for sure.
It will. Terrific.
So, again, it lets the light in, really makes it feel open and like you're almost a part of the outside in here.
There's a little bit, they had some of this cut glass, which is just gorgeous. They didn't do a lot of this, but isn't that a nice feature?
And one of the interesting things that I noticed was the cuts in the middle. There's several places where they're missing, almost like they forgot to finish, but the one downstairs is the same way. So what the significance of not having cuts here and also over here are, I really don't know, but I just thought that was interesting.
It draws your attention.
Yeah, it's an attention
It does
grabber.
draw your attention.
So.
Now, this, of course, wasn't always a closet. What was going on here?
This was probably a nursery or something at one time. It had a doorway that went into the upstairs hallway, which we did away with. And these doors were just such an amazing find and so interesting.
Did you find them or were they here?
They were here.
Okay.
Yeah, they were here. So we basically, in our planning of this space, at first we were trying to decide whether to make that a bathroom or not. We decided to make that the master closet. And then there was a bedroom on the other side of the master bedroom wall here that we walked into. And we decided to make that 2 bathrooms. So one of them became the master bathroom, and one of them became a hallway bathroom for the rest of the second floor.
So this is the master bathroom right
Yes,
here.
we moved a closet door from behind the entry door here down to here, and
it's
put a wall down the middle to separate the two bathrooms, and created a master bathroom out of that.
And you've got this gorgeous, the tile is just, it looks like marble.
It does. It is actually a porcelain, so it'll be a little better in a bathroom situation.
And a nice big walk-in shower with a
Walk-in
heavy
shower.
door.
The heavy glass shower doors, and again, we used another piece of furniture which we converted into a bathroom vanity.
Yeah, you love to do that, don't you?
It's just such a great way to bring character into a newer space like this.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, it's important to have modern bathrooms, but not too darn modern, right? You don't always want them to look like everything's brand new. Some of it's kind of retro, isn't it?
Right. So that's what we tried to do here. It's completely new, very functional, but we tried to use amenities and tile and things that look a little retro. Maybe a bathroom from the 30s or 40s, somewhere in there. So that's
but bright colors that keep it looking real clean.
bright colors that are clean.
Yeah,
yes,
really
very
neat,
functional.
Really neat. Walk down the hall. There's a bedroom on the right, and then they're going to have your new tenants are going to have, the new owners are going to have one lucky young man who's going to have like a double room. This is cool.
Wouldn't you like to have had this when you were a kid?
I would love to have had a place to sleep and a place to play.
Right. You've got the bedroom here, which obviously is where he's going to have his bed. He's got 2 closets. And then adjoining that, you've got this bright, great space where he's going to have a couch and big TV and his video games.
And his games,
all that stuff. So it's an excellent.
Maybe get a foosball table in there. I don't know if the kids are playing foosball anymore or not.
It's a suite, that's for sure. So,
it is. It sure is.
A lot of nice amenities.
And now this is interesting too, because here you've got a space that, I guess this was a bathroom at one time up here.
This was the only upstairs bathroom originally.
The only upstairs bathroom.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we, of course, ran new plumbing to it and reconfigured it, and it is now a laundry room.
Perfect.
So we have the washer-dryer hookups in there, and we also incorporated, and we'll see this from upstairs on the 3rd floor, we incorporated a clothes chute from the 3rd floor where the 2 girls are going to be, and so they can drop their clothes down into a hamper, which will go right here in the laundry room.
Now, and the 3rd floor, and that's where we're going now, that was a wreck. wasn't it?
It was a very dirty, dark, old attic, raccoon infested and everything else that you can imagine up there had been up there. And so being that we had a buyer so early in the process, one of the things they wanted, and we really don't give a buyer at that stage a lot of options because we've really already designed the house. We know what we want to do to it. And so, but one of the things they wanted to do was they wanted the attic finished. So that was an additional thing.
Oh, that's a big deal.
And it was a big deal because it affects everything else in the rest of the house,
Yeah.
all your mechanicals, your heating and air, obviously, your electrical and plumbing, everything. It affects all of that. So as far as the scope of work goes, that took this project from being, at this level to this level because it raised the bar so much.
Yeah, but it's gonna multiply their enjoyment of the house a lot too.
It gave them a lot more finished space.
Let's go up there next.
Okay.
Well, Michael, I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I used to live in a house that had an attic. It was like a third floor attic,
Right.
Didn't look anything like this though. This is terrific.
This was the biggest challenge in the house to make this what it is now. Everything up here had to be stripped out so that we were able to put the car siding up. Everything had to be insulated. It affected all of the mechanicals in the rest of the house because now you've got enclosed spaces, so you can't just throw junction boxes for electrical everywhere. You can't just run ductwork all over the floor. Everything's got to be hidden now. So it affected the entire house. All the building materials for up here had to be brought through this little cathedral-shaped window over here.
Because you couldn't get them up the steps.
We couldn't get them up the steps. And that's another reason I went with the car siding. First of all, we wanted that look.
And
but
the car
secondly,
siding is this what
is
we're
all
talking
this
about right here.
wooden siding that we use to
okay.
line everything with. But you couldn't get a 4x8 sheet of anything through that window.
No.
So even when we put down new subfloor, we had to have those 4x8 sheets ripped into 2x8 sheets so they could be boomed up and brought through that window. But it was a challenge, that's for sure. And it added, this space added a good month to 6 weeks of work to the entire scope of the project.
Yeah.
So.
And you decided to carpet it because the flooring in here would have been really bad.
It was just one buys.
It was an attic.
Sure.
Okay, so you're going to have, one of the kids is going to have a sleeping space there under
Yes.
that cathedral window.
Right.
And the other one will have one over here on the front of the house.
In the front. And then we wired everything for television in the house. And so there's a TV that's going to be over in that corner.
Yeah.
And they've got some couches and things that are going to go here and kind of make a little, hangout area. That kind of separates the two sleeping spaces. So
Yeah.
it's worked out really well. We replaced some of the windows up here, but kept the original ones, the Hershey Kiss window we call it up there.
That's beautiful.
And just it really came together. They also wanted a full bathroom up here, so we were able to add a
there it
full
is.
bathroom.
There it is.
And again, same theme as downstairs. We tried to keep that old retro look, using old pieces, tile that looked old, some marble accents and things.
Yeah, I don't think the kids will appreciate it, but the adults up here will. That come up here sure will.
Sure will.
Oh, man.
Yes. In fact, as they saw this room progress, the people purchasing the house from us thought, well, maybe we should make this the master bedroom instead.
That's right. I want this space
This is
up
a kind of a hideaway up here, really.
It is. It's really neat.
So
It is really neat.
But they have their own heating and air up here.
And you were talking about the mechanicals.
yes.
Is that what we're talking about here? Is the
Right, that's
heating?
what we use for the heating and air conditioning up here. It's just a split system. You set it to the temperature you want, and whatever it has to do to keep it, it will, whether it runs heat or whether it runs air. So, and it's very efficient, very quiet. You don't even know it's running, and it's really the best option for a space like this.
And you get plenty of light. I mean, with these windows, so you have some recessed lighting and one chandelier. That takes care of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's plenty bright, whether it's daytime or nighttime. So I think that and a few lamps as accents it'll be a wonderful space. I think they'll really enjoy it.
I mentioned earlier that Michael has already restored more than a dozen historic homes in Jacksonville. He's on the lookout for another one right now. And by the time you see this story, the new owners will have moved into this one. With another Illinois story in Jacksonville, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send 1995 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.